Hi there, welcome back to Green TV, where I do a series called Meet the Solutionaries. It is my passion, it is my love to interview people who are on the front lines of solving our planetary pickle. And we have so many problems and there's so many solutionaries. I am very excited, I always say that, but I really am excited to introduce my next guest, Debby Dunn. She is a partner in Grime. We go back to Zero Waste Trash Days and conferences, the California Recycling Coalition, and the NRRA, National Recycling Coalition. I forgot what all those acronyms are, but we met and it was kind of love at first sight because we share this waste prevention gene. I call it that extra W chromosome or something. So we have kind of lost touch the last few years, but I know that you've been working in water conservation in Southern California, and you are now in Beverly Hills, where you are the Water Conservation Administrator. And welcome to the program, first of all.
Thank you, Betsy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very exciting because, you know, so many years since we first met, maybe 15 years or so ago, maybe longer, the problems haven't changed. Some of them have gotten worse. A few of them have gotten better, but I'd say mostly it's getting pretty scary. So water, you know, people are saying water is the new gold. I said, we've been saying that for 20 years, we in the environmental activist community, but it really is. And it's really getting scary. I was just in Rome for a conference, and the river that runs through Rome was almost dry. It was so alarming. I couldn't even enjoy Italy. Who doesn't enjoy Italy? I felt like I shouldn't eat, I shouldn't drink. They're running out of water. Really, we empaths, right? And now all of a sudden you're hearing they're in a severe drought. You know, they declared a state of calamity when I was there, state of emergency, that's their version. And, you know, what are you going to do when there's no water to water the crops? You know, like what does Italy do without pasta, pizza, and wine? Kidding, but it's obviously very serious. So you are in a different part of the world, Beverly Hills, where I guess we first think of excess, a lot of beautiful homes with big lawns and landscaping, very fancy stuff. So I would love to hear your perspective from that perch there in very Tony Beverly Hills. We have a lot of celebrities and actors and actresses and agents and lawyers. And I've been there and I know the houses are humongous. And I don't even see the backyards, but the front yards are humongous. So tell us what you think's going on with our water and how you may have a unique, maybe not unique challenge there, but at least an interesting one.
Okay. As you know, I've been working in the environmental field my whole life. I'm very passionate about conserving all resources. I've been working in water in Southern California for a couple of decades, and I started off in the Inland Empire, so inland California, where it's different demographic. It's hotter out there. People aren't as wealthy, and they're more connected to their homes. I actually was, I got this position 6.5 years ago, and I was selected for the position because of my passion for the environment, because of my passion kind of bubbles out of me. And the way that I like to work with people and educate people is through love, is through education, is by connecting with people. And what I find is here in Beverly Hills, it's no different. Our residents are amazing. I don't care where you're from. I don't care how much money you make. The residents are amazing. But we do have some different issues here. And the main issues are that there's a lot of second homes, and there's a lot of larger homes where people aren't connected as much with their environment because they may just kind of, you know, drive in and out of their driveway and have other people that are in charge of things around there. So it's not just the residents, but it's the people that work at the properties. What I've done here in Beverly Hills since I've been here is, again, a lot of education. So I've been doing this for years. I've worked with about 12,000 people over the years. I've done about 3,000 site audits, helping people, connecting directly with them. I have a lot of outreach materials. I try to make my flyers. Here's one on caring for your lawn. I do everything in English and in Spanish. I have one on watering your trees. Right now, the drought is intense. Grass isn't bad if you've got kids and dogs and you're playing on it. It's a functional thing and it's not bad. But if the only person walking on the lawn is the person mowing the lawn, you probably don't need the lawn. Our trees we need our trees for the health of our planet, to keep the air cool, to keep the air clean, for wildlife, for beauty, for shade. And so that's one thing. That's why I have my tree watering flyer in English and in Spanish. And water leaks. that's something else. So again, I have a variety of flyers, and this one on water leaks. Of course, there's a dog in it because everything's got to be cute, and who doesn't love a dog? Most people
Debby
do.
Dunn loves doggies. Yes. I can picture you on the floor, a carpet of our home, and on the floor with our dog, Leo. And
this is a Leo dog.
Oh
It's a
my
golden. Yeah.
yeah. He was half lab, but he was a love, and you're a love, and the love together was fun to watch.
Yeah, I totally remember. But leaks are really common. So one thing that I work at when I'm working with my residents is, what's the issue? Well, here in Beverly Hills, we've got smart meters. So I know how much water everybody's using every hour. I get a list every day of the top 100 water leaks. So if there's a continuous flow at someone's house, I know. Now there's one of me, 12,000 accounts, because we service all of Beverly Hills and the west half of West Hollywood.
Here that I am.
And while I work 24/7, it's challenging, but it's my pleasure. So if I know someone has an issue, I'll call them, I'll text them, I'll email them, mail them a letter, and I might even knock on their door. And I'll say, this is the issue. This is what I believe it is. And how do you know what you can't see? The number one cause of water leaks are running toilets.
And
one toilet.
Most of the time, do they not know that there's a leak? Is that what you're saying?
They don't realize. And I would say that could be more of an issue in Beverly Hills for a couple of reasons. Large homes, lots of toilets, often a guest house, and we have an older population. And so they may only use one or two toilets in their larger home where they raised their family. And this isn't just here, but this is anywhere where they raised a family in a larger home and there's bathrooms they never use, but somebody cleaned it or somebody used it the other day and it's been running. One running toilet can flow up to 200 gallons an hour. That's enough water to fill a pool in 4 days. So it might not be sexy, but I'm always talking running toilets.
Well, whatever it takes.
Exactly.
Sexy. I know you. You'll make it fun. So what happens when you tell people they have a leak? Are they, thank you so much, let's come fix it? Or leave me alone? If you're, maybe the leak would be a good example, because who wouldn't want to fix that because of money? But the people who are, let's say, abusing, are there restrictions? Are they?
Okay, so we do have restrictions. And first, there are people that water more than they need to, a lot more than they need to. And in a lot of cases, it's not necessarily the homeowner's fault. Could be the gardener has it turned up too much, and it could be bad communication between the two. So I bring awareness and education. 99% of the people I work with here in Beverly Hills and West Hollywood react to what I'm saying just like that. They change their behavior. They change the issue. I do a lot of cold calling and say, hi, this is Debbie from the city of Beverly Hills. You have a leak. Again, 99% of the people believe me. And I'm like, I'm just calling out of the blue. And granted, I'm calling from a city number, but they will then
lie about such a thing. There's no scam there.
Exactly. Remember when you were a kid, your refrigerator's running, chase it. Well, your toilet's running, and they believe me. And what's really fun is the gratitude I get from these people. Debbie, you were right. It was my toilet. I have, celebrities, billionaires, sweet little widows that call me like, Debbie, you were right. I didn't realize, I didn't know. The gratitude I get is just unbelievable. And so to me, it's my pleasure to be able to make a difference to the environment and help people.
So you're a Beverly Hills conservation cop, like Beverly Hill cops?
It's true, but I like to be the good cop though. And one thing we are now enforcing, because of the extreme drought in California, you can only water 2 days a week. And so if people water more, I start by education. I then remind you, I like to say I'm not pesty, I'm persistent. And then if the behavior change doesn't happen, then code enforcement will follow up.
So are there tools now? Is there any technology that can help? And are people using it, whether it's, making your shower head less full or putting the brick in the toilet, if we still do that, tools to really help make this happen, because it's only getting worse, it seems, the drought.
Absolutely. Even if we get rain this coming fall or winter, it doesn't matter. It's going to help, but it's not going to stop the problem. Our climate is changing for whatever reason. Our climate is changing. Facts are facts. And so we need to do the best we can, not to conserve water, not to go on a diet, but to actually use water efficiently. change our eating behavior, change our habits. And so the things that I like to remind people, keep an eye on water leaks. So in Beverly Hills, like I said, we have smart meters, and then we have a customer portal. So our customers can sign up and they can see if they have a water issue. They'll get alerted if they have a water issue. If your city doesn't have such a program, there are devices. One is called Flume, and it goes on your water meter. And you can put an app on your phone and you'll know if you have a continuous flow. You'll know if when the irrigation is going off, how much water is being used. So you can actually monitor your water use more efficiently.
I'm glad
In
smart
addition,
technology has gone to that.
oh, smart technology is great, but it's only as smart as the person running it or using it. Smart controllers are great if you know how to use them. I've had a lot of homeowners that have smart controllers and they don't know what they're doing, and they'll double or triple their water use with them. So, keep that in mind as well. Efficient irrigation, watering 2 days a week is enough. You want to water deep. If you only water for a couple of minutes, especially these people that say, I water for a couple minutes every day, and I think that's the worst thing you could do. You want to water less often, longer. The deeper you get the water in the soil, the deeper the roots grow. The deeper the roots grow, the less the evaporation, because evaporation happens to the top of the soil. So little tricks like that, using mulch. Be organic with your gardening. Use mulch, use compost. I'm not an advocate for fertilizers or pesticides. There's organic ways to keep your garden happy and healthy.
And aren't there certain times of day where it's better to water the lawn?
Exactly, yes. State law is you can't water during the day, so it's water before 9 a.m. or water after 6 p.m. That has to do with evaporation, heat, and wind. And so you want to water during those times of the day. I like people to water early in the morning, because if you have a valve that's stuck or a sprinkler head that's broken in an issue, you'll know as soon as you wake up. If you're watering in the middle of the night, who's there to see what's going on, unless you have some sort of a busybody, Gladys Kravitz kind of a neighbor that's going to call and tell on you, even though you didn't realize it was happening.
So what happens if you get someone who is kind of belligerent? I mean, do you send the police, or do you have to go sit them down and scold them?
In my experience, and I've worked with, at least 10,000 different cases in the time I've been here, 99% of the people do what they need to. There was one time when somebody didn't believe me. They were too busy. There was so much else going on. And I understand that, I get it. We're all really busy, and irrigation is hard, and a leak, where is it? And what's going on? And I have 5 other distractions, or 5,000 other distractions. So in that case, I've only had to bring code enforcement in on one case, and they took it a lot more serious, kind of like saying, I'm going to tell dad on you. And it worked.
Are people starting to get freaked out about the lack of water because this is getting progressively worse? And this is not unique to LA or even California. As I said, I was just in Europe, and it is so scary. If you're not scared, you're not paying attention.
It's very true. It's very scary. I've been working on environmental programs for decades. It's my degree, it's my undergrad, and it's my passion. And I've always been concerned, but this is a whole nother level of concern. This drought takes us to a place that we've never been to before. Our water wholesale supplier is Metropolitan Water District. They do a great job with storage, with managing kind of like our portfolio of water, but they're in a situation like they've never been in before. And so right now I'm telling people, you need to water efficiently, because if you don't, you're going to use so much water for your yard that this summer, because we have no snowpack up in the mountains, we're going to use all the water out of our quote unquote savings account, our reservoirs, and we're not going to have anything to put back in there. So by the fall, we may not even have enough water for indoor water use. It's hard to say. It's very scary. And when I make people aware of this, they kind of sit back and say like, wow, okay, I didn't realize it was that bad. What else do I need to do?
I love that. And I think that way about water and also energy. Like, we're so wasteful in this country. it drives me nuts. You know, I'm sure you're the same. You know, something about these airport shuttle buses, they're always so air conditioned, and the hotel hallways are freezing. Like, this is like a freezer for a restaurant. You know, it's winter. Why do you have, you know, this is in Dallas, but it happens everywhere. And then the other thing that drives me crazy is you check into a hotel room. We've been traveling too much lately after COVID, and all the lights are on and the air conditioning is on. And we got in at midnight. It's God knows how long they were both on. That energy that's being completely wasted obliviously is going to be so needed tomorrow. And I don't mean literally just tomorrow, but tomorrow, and then, you know, my future grandchildren, I hope. And so how can we, like, I feel like getting a bullhorn and say, America, you don't know how bad this is, what's coming. Just if everybody could stop wasting resources, you know, water, energy, and trees, and all the precious natural resources that we need to live, we would have a lot more. It would go a lot farther. And too many people don't really get it. That's what bothers me. If they're not conscious, they're oblivious because they don't know better. That's where education is just so desperately needed right now.
I totally agree. And in fact, lately I've been doing a lot of presentations for a variety of groups. I volunteer my time to any and every organization that is interested in having me come and speak. On the side, I do teach classes for other water agencies, but now for garden clubs, for religious groups, for parks, for any Girl Scout groups, anybody out there.
Rotary Club.
Rotary, yeah. I'll go out to your chamber or your business association. So here's some interesting facts that people don't realize. The first is toilets. It's fascinating. The second is people will tell me, you know, I don't even flush when I go pee-pee. And I'm like, flush, don't worry about it. It's a gallon of water. And then they say, I take short showers. You know, I turn it off when I'm sudsing my body. And I say, okay, that's great. But a shower flows about a gallon and a half to 2 gallons a minute. So does a sprinkler head. One sprinkler head is 1 to 3 gallons a minute. So if you've got 50 sprinkler heads on your property, you know, if in a larger home, that's 50 showers being taken every time you turn it on. And so that's what I want people to be aware of. Our newer toilets are all about 1.1 to 1.28 gallons per flush. You don't need to put a brick in it anymore because they need the umph to flush. Also, we have so many low flow devices out there that it's we've got a lot of solids in our sewer lines. We need that liquid in there. And by the way, everything that you're flushing down your toilet, it does go to a treatment plant. The water is being recycled. It's being reused in our parks, in, you know, golf courses, cemeteries. So whenever you see that purple pipe, it's recycled water.
Okay, so green lawns are really a thing of the past, or they should be. What do you do to educate on that? Because we never had lawns. Living in Marin County, there were small, you know, yards, and we're on a hill with no yard. But we moved to Texas, out in hill country, and my front lawn and back lawn, I can't even tell you how big it is. I can't even see the end. I mean, it's atrocious, but we didn't create it. We just bought the house. It came with it. And it just makes me sick to my stomach. Not only the grass, you know, needing water, it's the gardeners who have to go out there and mow the lawn in 110-degree heat, which is what they're having right now in Austin. You know, it's just like, it just seems like, oh, so last century, you know, as a ground cover. Is there anything in the works in terms of, you know, making it a law to not build new homes with lawns, or what do you see coming there?
Okay, great question. And like I said, lawns aren't awful, but we don't need them in most places. So what I recommend, Metropolitan Water District does have a turf rebate program. So if you take out your grass and you put in water-wise plants, they will pay, it's usually about $2 a square foot. But you have to plant the right plants and you have to water right, or you're not going to get the right, a beautiful garden. You're not going to save water. If you want to keep your lawn, you want to put in a lawn like a Bermuda. You want to water deep, infrequent. You want to aerate it. You want to grass cycle, right? Why do people mow their lawn, take the lawn clippings, and then put fertilizer down when the lawn clippings can stay there and fertilize the lawn? You know, why do people rake up their leaves under their trees? Hopefully put them in the green waste bin where it's made into compost, and then go to the store and buy the compost when their tree was making it for free.
And if they don't compost, because most people don't, then it gets trucked to the landfill, which takes fuel, and on and on.
So it's educating people on the facts. What the things I'm pushing right now for our residents, there are products, there's a polymer out there, it's called hydrotain, and you put it down on the lawn, and it's kind of like the vermiculite, the little white pellets that you see in your potting soil. So it's a similar concept where it holds the moisture in the soil longer. So that's one option, so that the moisture will stay in the soil longer and you don't have to water as much. Mow high, I mean, it's kind of like a Cheech and Chong saying, mow high. Because if you mow high, then you have less sunlight hitting the soil. And so the soil doesn't dry out as quickly. In addition, the higher the grass, the deeper the roots can grow as well. The deeper the roots grow, the less the evaporation, the less often you have to water it. And finally, put in a grass alternative. There's one thing that I love is called Carapia. It's a ground cover, super drought tolerant. It's not native to California, but it works great in California. It's got super deep roots. They'll grow about 6 feet down if you water right. Initially, you have to water it to get it established, but then you can water it once every 2 weeks. It gets a great little flower in the spring. And it's a pollinator for bees. And that's what else we have to work on, is bringing more birds, bees, and butterflies into our habitats. Oh, and then it's educating gardeners who have just done more of a mow and blow kind of a job. That's all they had to do in the past. Educating them on what to plant, how to water it right, how to maintain it, and the right plant in the right place.
One of my team members said to ask you about xeriscape.
Okay.
Is that still a thing? And what is it exactly? I kind of think I know what it is, but you tell us.
Xeriscape to me and to a lot of people that, that do what I do, is kind of has a negative connotation. It's something that we used decades ago as like the Palm Springs or the desert landscape, just a really dry looking landscape.
Barren.
So I think to improve the image and the belief of what you can create, they call it more a drought tolerant landscape, a water wise landscape. I call what I do a water wise wonderland. There's California friendly, drought tolerant. And these landscapes use plants that are more adaptive to our climate. I'm all for doing native plants because they're supposed to be here. Well, Southern California native, because they're supposed to be here. They do well in this climate. But I must admit, I love Australian plants. I love any Mediterranean plant that's going to bloom, give me color, invite in hummingbirds and butterflies, bees, birds. It's just, you make a yard that turns into this habitat where who needs to watch TV? You can just sit in your yard and, enjoy your yard.
Even better. And, the birds and the bees have a new meeting now because, it might be awkward to have your kids talking about the birds and the bees conversation, but the birds are falling to the ground dead in the heat and the insects are disappearing, and like all signs of ecosystem collapse. It's quite daunting, isn't it? And yet
it is.
We know too much to quit, right?
Absolutely. No, I'm gonna fight till the end.
We're lifers. Yeah. So,
people say, to me, this isn't work. It's a pleasure. And I've often said I would volunteer to do this job because I do get to help a lot of people. And yes, we have bigger properties. And so the way I see it is I get to make a bigger difference. Lately, since the drought's been such the topic and it's such a big deal, I work with everybody and no one gets special treatment. Everyone gets special treatment from me. And I've had a lot of my larger properties call me saying, we're really concerned, like what's going on. And I can see everybody's water use. I can see how they're doing. I'm thrilled to say that my really big properties do great work. They hire great people who are really knowledgeable. And if they're not knowledgeable and they don't realize, they're open to listening to me and listening to my suggestions, ideas, and trying them out. And so I've got great reputations with the residents, house managers, gardeners, the dogs, everybody in town. It's a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Debbie. Is there like a green gardener movement going? Like you can get like a certified eco-friendly gardener who knows about all this stuff, so you don't have to learn it and tell them?
There's a lot of training programs out there. Up in the Bay Area, there's Rescape. And Rescape is amazing. Check out their website. I recently went through their course and they teach a holistic. They don't just talk about doing water-wise gardening, but they talk about solid waste. They talk about what you're discarding. And in my experience, after working in solid waste for decades and then water for decades, is the two don't always talk and communicate. And Rescape ties the whole thing together. They talk about bringing in your natives, watering it efficiently, putting in compost, using local native fertilizers and compost. And then also when you're buying your supplies, even your building supplies, go local. Why drive? Why ship stuff in? Do as much as you can local to also save fossil fuels.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but why is Roundup, which has been associated with, cancer more and more every year, still on the market? I think it is. I don't buy it myself. I don't go to that part of the store, but I think it's still being sold.
I believe it's still being sold. And I don't know, the latest on it. One thing I know, it's an effective product. It's supposedly, you hit green with it and the plant will die. You need to hit greenery. But as long as you don't use it on a windy day, get it in the waterways, supposedly it's not as harmful to the environment as some other chemicals out there, that if it's in the soil, it's in the soil forever. The runoff, even weeks later, will end up getting in our waterways and causing issues. Supposedly Roundup does.
Gets into people.
Oh, absolutely.
Going up.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Couple of questions and then we'll wrap up because I know you could talk all day. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, when you're talking chemicals, when people call me and say, I'm thinking about putting to save water in my yard, I'm going to take out my grass and I'm going to put in turf, synthetic turf. And
that was my next question.
Oh, you
asked is that a good thing or a bad thing? And then my last question, you can incorporate it, is: are you seeing people putting gardens in their front lawns, and is that legal, and should it be, and what do you see happening there?
Okay, great. Fake grass, plastic is the worst thing for your garden. Fake grass is hotter than asphalt or cement. It off-gases into the air. It heats up the environment. It heats up the soil. It kills the microbes in the soil. If you've got trees around there, now it's harming the roots of the tree and the health of the tree. I just had a guy that called me today. Yeah, I've got this idea. And I'm like, I'm going to talk you out of it. He's got kids and dogs, and he lives in the valley. The valley is super hot out here. So I said, you're going to let your kids go outside on a hot day and step on the plastic that's going to be hotter than the asphalt or cement, and then your dog's going to pee in it, and then your kids are going to play on it. Soil magically cleans toxins in the air. Plastic doesn't. And they say, oh, this grass is recyclable when it's, the end of life. Where? There's no place that takes it. It fills up our landfills. So again, consider other ground covers, consider plants, put down just dirt, decomposed granite's okay. But fake grass, no.
What about chipped wood chips, whatever you call it?
I love doing, whether you call it mulch, wood chips. That's great. There's so many to choose from. I get it usually from a tree trimmer. You can go, there's a lot of places that give it away for free. Put that down 2 or 3 inches on top of the soil, keep it away from the trunk of the tree. That will keep the soil cooler, stop weeds from growing. It'll decompose and feed the soil. There's so many benefits to putting mulch down. And then as for putting in a vegetable garden in your landscape, that's great. They use water. They can use a significant amount. So know what you're doing. You're going to change out your pop-up sprinklers. You're going to put in drip. And you want to know, you want to put in drip. There's so many different types. A type of drip system that gives you the flexibility to turn sections off when you're not using them. But it is pretty fun to grow your own food. Nothing tastes better than homegrown food because it actually tastes unlike the stuff you buy at the grocery store.
And when you're cooking and you need some herbs, to go out and pick fresh tarragon and oregano and mint, it's such a joy. It's fun. It's really fun. I don't have a green thumb. Everything else about me is almost too green. My husband has a green thumb, thank goodness. I kill plants, not intentionally. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered the basics, 101. We'll have you back to maybe go a little deeper down to the roots, but you enlightened our audience and shared a lot of good information. Just I'll leave you with the question I try to remember to ask each of our guests, and that is, you've given us a lot of tips, but any just parting thoughts on what you'd like to see people do who are watching this in general, take with them?
I'd like people to share the information they learn. So when I teach a class, I tell people I'm now training the trainer. So I'm giving you all kinds of good tips and advice. Take that and share it with your friends, your families, even maybe friends you don't, or the coworkers you don't like. Share it with everybody so that we can all be part of the solution.
I love that because I tell people we all have to be ambassadors. And if you see something, save something, SAVE. Speak up if it's freaking freezing and it's cold outside and I got the air. Speak up if the doors are wide open and the heat's on and it's always too much, almost always too much. And speak up if they're still giving you plastic straws in a seafood restaurant. You know, somebody's got to. And what I say, and you probably have this experience too, 9 out of 10 times, you know, even if the waiter or waitress doesn't know what to do about it, or they'll often say, I don't know why we do it. It's just, we do it, you know, no good reason. When I get the manager over and I say it, you know, respectfully, and here's the way you can save money, and this is a seafood restaurant, you don't want to poison your own, you know, then they almost always thank me. And often they just say, yeah, I don't even know why we do this. It's just because we have always done it that way and we need to find new ways to do things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Debby Dunn, it's been so much fun.
Thank you, Betsy. So my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And continue the good work you're doing in Beverly Hills. And I hope you are speaking to other cities and municipalities around California and the rest of the country, sharing all your good green wisdom.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Recycle it. Got to end on that note. Recycle, my friend from early days of recycling, my trashy friend. Bye-bye.
Bye.